Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Got a lot of IU stuff going on back there in the backdrop. I didn't notice that when we were there on the visit. I should have put my IU backdrop on like the Zoom background, then I would match it. Sometimes it pops on and I didn't even realize I had it on in the last meeting. How was your guys' weekend?
Good, busy.
That's good. Well, thank you for accommodating all of the switches. And Allie, I'm sorry, I did see Maria's email in terms of like conflicts. And then Kelly's like, it's okay if they miss. Again, I don't know what the topic is. So I don't mean to suggest that we take priority over whatever the topic was, but I don't mean to put you on the spot either. I'm sure.
My mouth is full of food, sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's all good.
Yes, I was trying to navigate it and apologize, like I said. So hopefully this helps us just get on the same page, and then we'll get all the invites and everything out. So you have all of the other dates upcoming. Kind of like you guys, it's always just juggling different schedules here at the beginning of the year. So Natalie, Marissa, did you guys have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was busy, but yep. Too much. Mine was good.
Oh,
You need like a weekend to recover from your weekend almost. That's what I feel like.
What about you guys? Did you have a good weekend?
I don't even remember what my weekend was. Yeah, it was good. I refed soccer and did some house projects. So
Same, yes.
yeah.
It's just busy.
Does it
All
go?
right.
Just not come.
So, I think Allie, while we've worked with you a lot, I don't know if we've ever gotten a chance to go through on the program preview side since we've been juggling the NDI and intensive. So hopefully this helps just in terms of flow. I know we find it very helpful because it allows us to. Sorry, are you seeing the PowerPoint right now?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, someone just knocked on the door.
Okay. My computers are weird. Do you see it though? Like, I'm not sure what you're seeing. Are you seeing it like with a black edge or like in the PowerPoint screen?
In the PowerPoint screen, like we can see off to the left-hand side of the slides.
Sorry, when I'm in the office, I have 3 screens and it's like showing the screen over on my other one. So I'm just going to go with this versus trying to figure it out while you guys are on there. So I wanted to see as I was advancing which one you could see. So thank you. So the program preview just gives us a chance to kind of go over some of the initial data that we had taken while on the visit, but also confirming, times and, just kind of getting on the same page with email or access or things like that. So apologies that I'm sitting there, I'm showing you in the PowerPoint because I don't know, and I don't want to figure out really quick how to get that screen over here. So just quick housekeeping. Again, this is part of, since the collaborative sites are part of a research study, this is part of why we go over this in terms of just covering our bases. If you had a chance to review the informational meeting, it did go over some of the history of the collaborative sites and really how they were developed. Again, they've been going since 2006, and so that's helped us really look at application of the different concepts within classrooms like your own or programs like your own. Ultimately, HANDS began through funding through the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Ongoing has been supported through funds through the Department of Education, IU Health, and other philanthropic opportunities. Ultimately, we're a small business within the School of Medicine, and then contract directly with corporations like your own. So like I mentioned for the program preview, it's probably the most formal secondary to the informational meeting of the meetings that we'll do this year, but just helps us get on the same page and to use that data-driven component in terms of working together. Just cover a little bit about our model. I know each of you have had different exposure, and hopefully you had a chance to go over the informational meeting, but if not, I go into a little bit more discussion in it there, and we also have the informational video. about our model, but then really where we'll focus and what to expect kind of in the collaborative sites process this year. We'll give you just a quick update in terms of consents, assessments, and such, and then just confirming kind of what our ongoing supports and resources look like. So the overall objectives, as I mentioned, are just going over the pre-assessment findings, previewing where we'll start within the curriculum, and then also looking at specific modules, activities, dates, and so forth. And then also some of the details related to consents and assessments ongoing, as well as what you get kind of as you're going through and mutually working through the process together. So I think most of you know both of Audrey and I, but Audrey, do you want to introduce yourself or give a little information?
It's funny because I got to know Allie and Marissa last year and then knew Natalie coming into it. So a nice little easy way to start off the year. So you guys know enough about me, my background in special ed, and my heart for the kiddos and helping others help their kiddos too.
So for myself, so I'm obviously the assistant director. My background is in school psychology, as I said on the informational meeting, but I've worked with hands. So I worked in the schools for about 10 years, and then I've worked with hands for about 15 years at this point. And again, enjoy coming out in the classrooms and working with you all. So we'll get to work with you as well. You guys want to give a quick intro in terms of your background or kind of what you're excited about with this year?
Excited for the year to be done.
Already, huh?
Yeah.
It's been a rough start.
Yes, it has. Fall break is what I'm excited for. Yep.
You guys have 2 more weeks. My kids only have 1 more week. That's been throwing me off with dates, but
Yep.
How about you, Kathy, Marissa?
Oh, this is my second year here. I'm Marissa, by the way. And before this, I taught for 1 year I taught resource actually in 6th grade down in Bloomington, Indiana. Okay. So this is my 3rd year teaching, my 1st year here at Warsaw. As stressful it is, I'm enjoying it very much. I taught 2 years at Muncie Central High School and their life skills program. Yes, chirp chirp. So, and that's how, I met Audrey, obviously, and she's great. And so yeah, so I left Muncie and now I am here. So
This is my 28th year of teaching. I taught in Hawaii. I did resource elementary and middle school, 2 years each. And then I did a functional skills program in another county for 17 and a half years. And it'll be 6 years this December that I've been here in Warsaw.
I always just like to hear where people have come from. So thanks for entertaining me a bit on a Monday. It helps always shape kind of where we're all coming from. So awesome. So jumping in, I think it's really fun when we all are coming from different lenses. And I think that's part of the enjoyment of the collaborative sites is getting to kind of bring different perspectives and working together around central evidence-based practices. So we do spend time, just like you do with your kids, kind of respecting the culture, doing some pre-assessment, even if we've worked together ongoing. It does help us in just learning more, but also in collaboration with you guys, hence the name Collaborative Sites, helps others kind of within communities understand what it takes to kind of work through different barriers, those feelings of it already being a long year, and how we're able to put evidence-based practices in place with fidelity, but with adaptation to different settings. So again, I think you guys do an awesome job with that. So we really just layer onto that and help put those pieces in place as kind of a hub within your community, but for others to be able to see what that looks like. So from a pre-assessment standpoint, you guys know we did the on-site data collection. So sometimes that feels odd to have other people come in, and hopefully you guys have been around us enough. I know, Natalie, you're new in some ways to hands, but we do kind of take in, observe, never evaluatory. It's really just looking at different ways that things are being implemented. Reviewing records, so looking at the IEPs or data or tasks that you're using, or supports that are actually being used or maybe are hoping to be used, and then interview. So as you guys know, some things like homeschool communication or how you collaborate with your therapist are hard to observe. So we do have to ask some of those questions. The other components are tied to online data collection, and that's both at your level, but then also at the student level. And again, kind of the overall objectives are really to look at how we can better support teachers, not only our team, but as a whole in terms of technical assistance and training. And that's really why we do all of the data. And then again, give you guys credit, and we'll talk more about that. But that's why we're really take a lot of data to inform our work, but also to help continue to move the field forward. So specific to the on-site data collection, what we collect is called schoolwork, and work stands for written observation and review of records of kids. And it's really just that multimodal data collection. The schoolwork is not specific to our hands model, but was really developed with evidence-based practices in mind. We do use it across a lot of different districts as like more of a program evaluation tool. And not evaluation. I think evaluation is the wrong word in some ways, but that is what it's called. It's really to help identify strengths in programs so that we can, help better, whether it's site to site mentor or however the district wants to use that data. It just helps us identify kind of overall what are evidence-based practices looking like within that setting or that program, and then give some concrete areas to work on. So as you see, and I'll kind of discuss how it correlates with the hands model. But in the data, we want you to understand kind of what is overall kind of laid out. And then you'll see here, this is the schoolwork findings report, and it lays some of that out so you guys can see kind of how it's described or what information is included. So program design is the first category, and that's really where the record review comes in. Where we're looking at the IEPs and the diversity of goal areas you're working on, what the specifically designed instruction is, how your baseline or present levels are tying into the goal and objectives and how you're instructing. So really just looking at the individualization within instruction. So it in the model would really fall into that, setting goals, assessment, and teaching area. But we you're going to see growth in that area as you'll see this data a few times this year, because it really tends to increase, as you're doing your ACRs, since a lot of it's records, but also it's more programmatic than, as discrete as some of the other areas. In terms of assessment, as the name applies or implies, as well as the description, it does align pretty closely with our assessing unit within our model, but it really does look at how you kind of in day-to-day practice or your team are using both kind of informal or more natural observations, or how you're using that data. But also what formal data collection is being collected and utilized. So everything from skills teaching or social skills teaching to FBAs and behavior plan data. But when is that occurring? How often is it getting reviewed? How is it getting represented? So it's a bit broader and kind of hits in that assessing and setting goals area of our model. The third category, environmental control, is really the base of our house or our model. And as it implies, it's that building the environment section. So everything from how you've oriented your physical structure, so some of that tight and loose structure, or again, as you're going into areas, how can you tell what is going to be accomplished there, or what we're focusing on, or what materials are needed, how you're using different visual supports, and then really a heavy emphasis on that proactive planning, or all of those antecedent-based strategies in terms of giving both your students but also your staff that information that helps set up for success. The next category is teaching, and I would say it definitely aligns with the teaching unit, but includes some of that setting goals and even the generalization or generalizing section of our model, because it really looks at how we're introducing that teaching component, but then also how we're not only discretely teaching it, within your instruction, whether it's small group, individual, or group, but then how is that getting generalized out? So are you teaching it, then working on it in a small group, and then working on it in the hallway? But really, what does that teaching look like? And then how are you using the data along the way? And then that last category of behavior intervention, if you've kind of looked at our model, it does hit on a lot of the components of the model. Definitely in the teaching section, but it reflects the data components. It looks at proactive planning. It looks at more of your, not only PBIS, but how you're, what your language looks like around you working with the students. Is it open and has choice, or is it very directed? And it's more than just, like I said, the behavior plans or the teaching section. It's really kind of the general approach to classroom management. Within our house model, you'll see there's that crimson around the edge, and that reflects all of those implementation supports. And one key piece is collaboration. So whether it's the building and environment section and both you and your staff and students all being aware of kind of how you're teaming or collaborating or what's clear, but also the collaboration between home and school and other professionals. So again, that interweaves across all 5 areas. So as we look at kind of how you're, and this, so I want to preface it that we grouped all of your scores together because we do treat kind of your program across all 3 rooms. So while we'll take and kind of step into each of your classrooms or teaching and what you're working on or sampling each of the IEPs, given that you are the STAR program, that's how you'll see a lot of your scores reflected. So again, that'll help balance out, but it does, appreciate each of your individual teachers approach things uniquely. And I think that's the fun part of being in a program versus by yourself on your own island. And so again, I just wanted to share that here at the get-go. What we do work on is getting scores up to 80%. So while that seems like superficial criteria, you've written goals and know that you kind of nebulously in some ways pick a target. We set 80% as a goal for ourselves. So this is reflective for us as well when we're working on and working when teaming with you guys. As we're taking scores, we score those based upon the amount of evidence or amount of time we're seeing things used. And again, like I said, that's across all 3 settings. One thing I do want to give a huge shout out, because I think this is probably the first time I've seen it, is that assessment is actually the highest for you guys. And I would say never does that occur. It's usually like at 10%. So again, I think that's exciting because I know Audrey and I probably could both attest that we like data a lot and like to see that other people are. So that may be surprising to you guys. But again, that's an exciting part. I think some of the other sections, environmental control, teaching, and even the behavior intervention are still higher than sometimes we see when we're initially taking data, especially among a team that's kind of just, moving into a whole new space, kind of getting a chance to work together. So again, I think these are pretty strong scores. And this is really just when we talk through in terms of, like when you're teaching a new math lesson or you're starting a new unit with your kids, this is a broader pre-post. We then take rubrics each time and we can share those as we're moving along that help us focus in on particular modules within our model. So what we'll do, we look definitely at the areas of strength and typically focus in there. So like I said, you're unique in that your assessment and program design are high. We will start still in this environmental control area. continue to help you in the assessment, but we will start still in this environmental control. And then within that, we work progressively on areas of strength. So does anybody have any questions on kind of those scores or what falls within those scores? No, you'll see more. And we did pull yours out from the data we've taken at the high school in the past. We're happy to share that with you. But since you're kind of starting with your program and with your staff, we just have this one. And then, like I said, we'll take it mid-year and then end of year, and we'll continue to share that with you as we're going ahead. So the next component or pieces that you've probably already started receiving through our email is the online data collection. So with the online data, again, you'll get some measures that come directly to you. We do track all of your hours and participation. I know we've been delayed in getting the Advera cards out from last year. So for Allie and Marissa, if you guys did any data on our side, you'll still get credit for that. Our team has been working on getting that set up to get those out your way. But the online data collection, we do some pre-assessments that you'll then have a chance to do at the end of the year. For students, again, I know you and Allie, you can definitely recall from last fall where we were trying to iron out kind of who was on your caseload and who, with the consents and the forms and such. So that's one component. With the consents and assents, our data team will reach out to you just to confirm your rosters. I know you people have been working on getting those. Anyone that already had consents, so if we had consents coming from the middle school, don't have to be reconsented. There is a letter that can go out to them about continuation of the partnership. But if there's any new students that we had not previously gotten consents for, we have to get new consents. That just allows us to be able to, look at their records, or if we're coming on a visit and going to be coaching or modeling, or you have questions, it allows us to have that open dialogue and that the parents and students are aware of that. There are a couple of measures that we have you complete for any consented students, and that just helps us learn more about kind of the overall topography or kind of the levels within your class and within your setting as a whole. So always feel free to reach out to the Hands email or Hands to you if there's any questions about the data, and we're happy to answer those and keep an eye on those. So specific to our model and kind of how we work forward, again, I know, Allie, you've attended some of our trainings, and then Natalie and Marissa, you've had some exposure. Ultimately, our model is a comprehensive treatment model that's rooted in ABA, or applied behavior analysis. That just means it's a data-driven approach, but built from evidence-based practices across the field of autism, education, developmental disabilities, but it's applied within a structured framework. So again, as we're moving through the modules, each of the modules are evidence-based practices in and of themselves. So we know they work. They have a really high level of rigor and evidence that they work with kids and students across a range of ages. But kind of the iterative process of working module to module helps you in thinking through or being systematic and setting up for success. As we work through, again, we'll talk through kind of what it looks like, but it's very hands-on in terms of following the behavior skills training process. So I'll detail that a bit more. As I mentioned within our training curriculum, each of these individual modules, so physical structure, visual structure, schedules, choreography, are all evidence-based practices. So again, it means they have a lot of research behind them as single strategy interventions. Our curriculum really builds on those, but helps kind of contextualize that. So you're not, having to think kind of each of them as unique entities, but instead we always focus on building this environment to really help make our students as independent as possible, to decrease their anxiety about what's coming next or what they're working on or who they're working with, and to create more independent scheduling skills. So we're really setting them up for success. That helps us get better assessment, to set better goals, and then again, ultimately to get to that individualized teaching and generalization. Particularly for you guys there at the high school, you're really wanting to launch them into that next stage of life. So really thinking about that generalization component. The bidirectional arrows just reflect that each new skill you're teaching or each new setting you're in, so even your move between rooms or new teachers or new staffing, there's always something that if you see you're not making the progress that you anticipated, that we may need to come back and look at our goals, or maybe we need to get some more assessment, or maybe we're ready to change the structure. So again, it just reflects that it's a continual process, but it gives you that framework and thinking through what your programming and intervention looks like. As I mentioned, we use the behavior skills training process, which is also an evidence-based approach. It just means that essentially we're showing you or giving you information where you're learning about a topic, you're getting a chance to model, or will model and get a chance to practice that topic, and then that coaching component. So it does align with the principles of adult learning. I know that I can definitely relate, where you watch a YouTube video and then you practice it and then you're getting some feedback. Does the shelf fall apart? So again, it's just building on that process of seeing it, or kind of learning about it, seeing it, and then doing it and getting feedback. What that looks like with the demo classroom process is that we'll go over, you guys have your Canvas course, or not course, it's the collaborative site Canvas. The web calls will help give some more instruction or booster specific to application in your classroom or in your program. And then there will be videos or demonstrations. So prior to visits, we'll let you know, hey, it looks like in your choreo, and we'll work together on that. This would be a great chance to work on this schedule, or to work on this assessment, or take data side by side. So that's part of the emails that you'll get before our visits that let you know when things are occurring. And that'll be, again, mutually discussed on the calls. Then a chance to implement, whether that's yourself or other staff, to get some feedback. And then ultimately, kind of once, depending upon the topic you've implemented, it may be moving on to another component, another module, implementing with another student. So that coaching component. As we continue to move on to modules, again, part of it is reflecting and continuing to kind of think through what that looks like, or how practical that is for you. Again, having worked across a number of settings and age groups, that's where that individual piece comes in. So we're never looking to push you into something that's not practical in your setting, or with your schedule, or with your staffing or students, but to help understand the basic principles of each of these modules, and what do those look like in your setting, so that fits your approach and your kids and your team. So where we'll focus, it will be very specific on kind of the modules themselves. So we'll look at some of the physical structure, kind of boosting that, having you go over that module content and kind of what's occurring in different areas, to help with that component. And then in the visits, like we said, we'll arrive, have some observation, look at modeling and coaching times, and then setting that debrief. And again, when we're coming, I don't know, I know, Allie, you have, that's where kind of the discussion, I know you sent and said you had gotten kind of everything reflected across your 3 rooms. Part of what we'll be looking at for visit scheduling, we'll be looking at, is there a good time to touch base that's common for you guys on our visit dates? Kind of again, after that, I think I accidentally, this was supposed to be a bullet, because usually we'll give you the arrival time, a period of time where we're observing or taking some data. Each time there will be times that we'll be doing modeling or coaching, and then we look to do a debrief at some point in time within the visit. So again, you guys can kind of think about that, or maybe something comes to mind. For some teachers, they have like a somewhat, common break midday of sorts, or transition period where we're able to touch base, or maybe your staff are covering lunches, or it's after you have students leave. That's just a chance to touch base, midday or towards the end of the day. Then the web calls are where it gives us a chance to kind of touch base between visits, because that helps us prep for the next visit. Does that make sense? And again, we can look at your choreo, but is there anything that pops out at you?
Do you guys want to like maybe focus on like getting up the visual supports and get those up and going? Is the visual supports and getting that up and going, is that a possibility?
Oh, for sure. Are you talking about which visual supports are you talking about?
I don't know.
Yes, the
Um,
business
I
structure.
mean,
So we'll start. Oh, go ahead, Allie.
no, it's like, I know we've got like a few basics in place, but we could probably, I know we could do more.
I feel like my cabinets, they're like where are the art supplies? It'd be easier to have them.
So maybe just kind of like looking at that structure and maybe what's needed, and that would be helpful.
Yeah. So
Weird.
physical structure will be where we'll focus. So we will initially, we always joke that like schedule all of the building the environments kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg.
Right.
Whether you're thinking about physical structure or visual structure, as you think about areas of your room, that's where the labeling and location comes in, or scheduling and all of those. So they naturally feed each other. So we do have kind of physical structure planning checklists that'll help you think through kind of what other, basically it'll inform the visual structure. So that'll definitely be where we focus because you have some really awesome space now, and kind of looking at that will that help you guys as you're thinking through. So we're definitely on the same page with getting some of those up, and part of us, in this process is that we'll help you with a lot of the making piece or bringing, whether it's your kind of core visual supports or ones that are more tailored to your setting, that'll just, again, make your students more independent in that transition and also help you kind of in your new space overall. So specific to visits, and again, we can look at your choreography, but is there, and I'll share or we'll share the dates after the call. So you guys can make sure that those all work. I forget who I've sent dates out to and who I haven't. But we'll get those out so you can check. But is there, like, say we're coming on a Monday or a Tuesday, would there be a possibility there's like a half an hour that we can touch base, midday, or is it not till the end of the day that you guys usually have time available? That's common.
We don't really have a common time for the three of us. Preps don't start until like fourth period, but we still have Jorge here.
Yep.
During that time. So it's going to be the latter part of the day.
That's okay.
Where it would hit one of our preps.
What is the typical fourth period time? I'm just making notes so that we're.
That depends on the day.
Yeah.
I would say probably fifth or sixth would be a better time.
That's okay.
On the fifth, that is the lunch period might work.
Only if Jorge's gone. Because sometimes he's here during fifth.
Is he?
Yeah, depending on the day.
I don't know.
And it's okay because we have to.
Yeah.
If not the fall, so you'll be able to kind of see, like then you'll be able to be like, oh, it's a Tuesday, like this might be. And again, we'll have a call before visits as well.
Only here for like 15 minutes ever during fifth.
Right.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I would say, honestly, if it would be like at 12:30 or later, because Jorge leaves around 12, which is usually around 12:05 by the time we actually get him out. Does that help?
Yeah. And again, it's not like we're cementing that in for the year or anything. I think it'll be, like if it's a Wednesday, most of our visits are on Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. Just in looking at, breaks or things like that. So as we send those out, then we could say, hey, that's a Monday, that would be about this time. If it needs to, if 12:30 helps you guys, because then you just know, hey, it's a visit day, we'll touch base. And it's not long. I would say it's, about a half an hour or so if, that to go over some key pieces. But we will start, as I mentioned, on the physical structure. and going over that, getting you guys, making sure all of you have access to the Canvas, and then starting to work through some of the physical structure planning. So that way, when we come, we'll have some materials or be able to kind of work through that more in that regard. But being able to touch base, midday or as part of that debrief is helpful, just to make sure you have some key pieces, or we're able to go over some of what we've been working through. From a web call perspective, do the Mondays at 7:30 work for you guys when you don't have something typically scheduled? Is that the best time?
Yeah. It might be 7:35, just putting that disclaimer out.
It's okay. I had to come into work and I was like, oh no, there's like so much traffic today. So, well, I'll come in on Mondays from now on. So 7:35. So we will get those out, and then that way you can cross-check that they don't fall on, like if you already know there's a scheduled activity. Again, I appreciate that Kelly was flexible with us today and felt like it was okay, because otherwise we were going to have to push out really close to your visit, and we wanted to do the call so that we could start getting going and prepping ready for your visit. So I appreciate your guys' flexibility.
Yeah.
So in terms,
I'm going to just tell you right now, usually the first Monday of every month, we have a PLC meeting. That's usually we're with the other sped department here. As far as like when we have the secondary with Kelly, that's not a set routine yet. If that helps.
yeah. So avoid the first is the big thing, right? In terms, sorry, I'm gonna share my screen. I was just adjusting the space real quick. So, because it's always helpful for us just to make sure we verify contacts and just some of those basics at the beginning. In terms of personnel, are all of these people still in place?
We make it a little bigger.
Oh,
Possible.
I never know how big it shows on the other side.
Good. Thank you.
So we had Lisa, who's mainly just like contract questions, Kelly, Bill, Maria, and then the three of yourselves as kind of your main contacts. Is that correct still?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Who are, sorry, let me see, just so I can list them in here. I'm gonna move this information down real quick. In terms of your assistant,
Yeah. Should I be included in the information emails and invites?
that's why you look at it at the same time, meaning,
Okay,
that
thank you.
And Kelly should be included as well. Forget what yellow means. Oh, primary for coordination or scheduling. And then can you remind me who all of your assistants are, just so I can type it in here?
So we have
Chris Miller.
Is it?
what's Natalie's last name?
Cerisi.
Serfazi.
Yeah. And then Natalie. And then it's SERVIZZI, I believe. That could be misspelled.
She typed it in on my
She
phone.
did. Okay.
Yep.
Daisy.
Did you say Daisy?
Daisy, yes, like the flower. And then Via, VILLA. Olivia. Maybe, MAE. B as in boy. EE. Believe
I think
right?
it's Y. It's MAYBEE.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. YBEE. Who am I missing?
I think that's
I feel like I'm missing someone. Callista's our job coach.
yeah.
And then we have a job coach.
And what's her name?
Callista.
Did you say Calista?
K.
KALISTA. Dobbins, DOBBINS, I think.
I think that's it.
Is that it?
Chris, Natalie, Daisy, Olivia, Calista.
Yeah. Yep.
And are their emails just all like C. Miller, N. Cervisi, D. Villa? Are there any that are?
I don't think so. I think they're all the
They're
same.
normal,
I'm
except Chris,
checking.
maybe, hold on.
Oh, because
It's more just because we verified the consents. And then you guys, that's
Chris is his first name. It's Christopher Miller.
Just because it's such a common name was what I was thinking.
the like Christopher, like a traditional Christopher spelling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the Villa. And do you guys so you said she was the job coach,
Yeah.
and then all the rest are, do you just refer to them as paraprofessionals or?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they, like, do you find that they're in one, or do you just share them all or?
Typically, yeah,
Okay.
wherever they're needed.
Okay. And then, the only other question I
Well,
have. Oh.
Sorry, except for Daisy in the mornings is typically with Allie,
Okay.
with Jorge.
So so on that slide, when I was talking about adding you to Canvas or, kind of working through the modules and, kind of understanding the concepts, do you want us to add your paras to Canvas so they could also go through the modules, where they would have some content? And we can individualize, like say you want one of them to be added, but not the others. Or some teachers prefer just to kind of relay back what is needed. Totally up to you guys. Every teacher and program kind of does different things. That's why we ask if you want them to be added to Canvas or have that access.
I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I personally think that'd be nice just because then they can help print visuals and stuff if we need them to. I agree.
Yeah. No, I think it's always nice just because, again, even if it's like a handout, because it links to the Google Drive, or if say you find something helpful yourself, they could go in and review. Awesome. Just add that in there so we can make sure.
Adding Paris to Canvas.
I agree.
For Callista, do you want to have her added as well in case that's something that could be accessed?
So,
Yes,
Okay.
please.
All right. So, as I mentioned, we'll send out the dates for the web calls just to make sure they all work, avoiding at least the first, and then you can let us know if it overlaps with any of those secondary times. For the visits, we have those on the calendar on our side, but we'll send those just to make sure they work, before we send out the invites for you guys. And that way you can cross-check. When we're sending the preview emails before the visits, it'll include any times that we're, looking to coach or, put something in place. Again, it's helpful to see your choreography as you had shared with us, Allie, just so that we were deliberate with what that is, or maybe a student, if we're working on applying something together with that. And then we'll always send after the visits and calls kind of a follow-up email that includes homework kind of on our side, if say we're making visuals or helping prep something, or on your side, if maybe you're, filling out, like I said, the physical structure checklist or thinking through the setup of something. Our real hope is to help alleviate some of that time challenge that comes on your side in terms of being able to make things or, again, kind of tie things together. That's the hope, and working together on that. Ongoing coaching is a big piece. So again, one thing that we're working to get in place, and I'm working through on the university side, kind of the last approvals to get what's called High Rasmus set up. So High Rasmus is kind of a way that we could virtually kind of be able to coach or give input on things with you guys. It's not something that's like always streaming, but it's a HIPAA and FERPA compliant way of us, like say you wanted to do an informal assessment with a student and wanted us to kind of either remotely be able to coach or even be able to see it, that we can share back and forth and tag or work together. So that's another piece that even when we're not there, if we're working on a topic, that we would have a chance to still remotely be able to partner. All it takes, like say we were coaching something, is essentially like AirPods or earbuds and your phone or a camera. And it's all, like I said, HIPAA and FERPA compliant. But ongoing when we're there or encouraging you, that's part of what we'll talk about as terms of homework and follow-up. And then the last part, as I mentioned, is just that self-assessment and reflection. As you guys know, and Allie, you can definitely attest in your work with Jorge that some of the things you're putting in place, you have to evolve or you work through in terms of feasibility or student growth and staff needs. And part of what we're here to help with is some of that reflection or adaptation while still maintaining the integrity of the particular practices. So in terms of next steps, again, we kind of just went through that in terms of setting up the content, or not content, sorry, contacts, verifying who you want on Canvas or website access, getting the emails. If you haven't yet gotten the emails from our team, they'll just be confirming consents, getting you guys set up in Canvas if you're not already on there, and then we'll send out all of the dates for the visits and web conferences. Do you guys have any questions? Awesome. And we are there, obviously. This year we're at the high school and then at Jefferson. And then we also have a consult day. So we're up in Warsaw or in your area at other schools at least 3 days a month, which helps us, like if say we're making something and want to drop it off or something like that, to reach out.
Someone's up there.
Hello, just a second.
1 second, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Haley.
Just we're in a meeting. Okay, carry on.
Sorry.
Ongoing support, like I said, we encourage everyone to be involved. Always feel free to reach out. So you're welcome to ask questions. We will keep a focus kind of on a module and working progressively through the model. We're always happy to answer other questions. But like I said, we'll be up there on other visits to where we can drop things off or help, again, be a support. Then the last piece is just next steps. So I kind of went through that, getting you set up on Canvas, starting to work through that physical structure module on Canvas. Hopefully it's a kind of a reminder or refresher if you've participated in trainings with us. If not, you're working through that. We'll also send some initial kind of work to start thinking through application in your settings and program. So that we can prep and have materials for coaching when we're on our first visit, which is later in October, which gives us a chance to kind of get some of that in motion. We already have your IEPs, so I didn't take that off, and then we confirmed your staff emails, so that's awesome. In terms of contacts, again, some of the emails will come from our main hands email. The hands ask email, and then data questions usually are going to come through hands to you, but may come through hands. We use the group emails just so it's easy to recognize that it's coming from us. But then also you may get communications directly from myself or Dr. Sweezy. So again, that just helps with kind of recognition or emails as those are coming through. Any other questions?
I don't
Okay.
think so. Do you guys?
Nope, we'll think of them after we're off.
It's okay. I can totally appreciate that happening all the time. So we will send a follow-up email with the visit dates for you guys to check before we send out the invites, and then the starting steps, so you can get going. And like I said, our hope would be that you'll be making materials to help with some of the labeling, as you mentioned, Allie, that layers into the physical structure. And helps you guys just get set up. I have no doubt that we'll kind of work through, because I know you guys are all excited to get things in motion within your new rooms and everything. So awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. It was good to see you guys this morning, and we'll get things out your way.
Sounds
All right,
good.
thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Have a great
Thanks.
day.